Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every corner. No gear changes. Perfect.
Oh, this is quite appalling. This is the worst start that I have ever seen in the whole of my life. Brilliant! Absolutely brilliant!
Okay, Buckmore Park, show me what you've got. The heart of British karting. So, keep this fairly short. Basically, I only have footage from race 1 and the GoPro was once again not well housed, so it's rattling around. So let's not try to dwell on it. Buckmore Park, I think the difficulty is that most people have been there quite a lot, so relative to if you're new to it, the standard is relatively quite higher, because I think a lot of people have done a lot of racing at Buckmore Park. So yeah, that is a difficulty. I had been for a little arrive and drive test before and ended up qualifying 7th, which, bearing in mind what I just said, I'm happy with that. That was, yeah, a decent go. The end result of both races basically was that I dropped down from that place, but let's see how we did in race 1, going to the start in 7th place on the inside line, and the pack heads into the first double right-hander and I'm on the inside, keep it relatively clean, pretty happy, but then into hairpin 1 and a big knock on the back. I think I unsettled Manuel there on the left, sort of cannoning into him there, which is unfortunate. So drop down, Zach gets in front as well, and I'm gone from 7th to 9th at this point. After lap 1 we had a bit of a delay of an extended yellow flag period, but back racing again, and coming up behind a back marker, Zach has got a run on Cameron in front, and then up my inside comes Luke, but he just slides slightly wide so I can slot in. Cameron then loses it into hairpin 2, and that gives me the place back up to 8th. A few laps later, Zach is defensive into turn 1, and so I get a run, a little bit of a run, outbrake him into hairpin 1, and that's me up back to 7th. And at this point, you know, that was pretty good, that move, and I'm up in 7th, back where I started, and if I kick on here, this could be a good result. And so what you got to do when you make a move like that is set some good laps and then maybe work with people and try and catch in front. But I'm not. I'm missing the apex there into that downhill. I just didn't set some good laps, and Zach rightly coming down the hill makes a move and gets it done on the last corner. And this is partly the sort of racecraft thing, right? You know, everyone loves that Ayrton Senna quote of, if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver, blah blah blah. And I'm backing myself by making that move, saying, yeah, I think I can go faster than Zach here and push on. But in hindsight, I didn't push on, and you kind of cost you both of yourselves time by overtaking each other. And perhaps in hindsight, the better thing would have been to sit behind him, try and follow, catch the pack in front, and learn from his lines. I don't know what the right thing there was. I felt like I had the pace, but I ultimately couldn't back it up. The other thing about Buckmore that's interesting, I think, is that you don't have to be much faster than someone to overtake. There are places where you can make a move and they probably can't sort of fight back, even if you're not that much quicker. You just kind of have to be close behind. That's different to some other tracks, and that means that it's quite easy to get into a rhythm of losing a lot of places quickly, because people can sort of see a weakness. They'll find your weak spot and attack it for massive damage, which is what happened in this race. I dropped down a few more places after this. The other thing about Buckmore is it's so physical. I almost like the rattly camera in view here, because it kind of reflects how it feels to be in the car. I think, you're getting thrown around, it's fast, frenetic. It's an awesome racetrack. It's so fun, but there's no time to rest, and that goes both physically and mentally. And I was finding in this race, in most tracks there's sort of a start-finish straight where you have time to gather your thoughts and sort of work out what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, maybe just sort of rally yourself. But there's no time to do that at Buckmore, and I almost got to the point where I was just I feel like I had no control over what was going on away. I'm just sort of having a bit of an out-of-body experience, reacting to what's going on. Manuel gets past, and then Justin comes past as well, and I try and sort of fight back, but don't get anything done. And yeah, it's an amazing track, but I did struggle with the mental and physical relentlessness of Buckmore Park. So this was race 1. I up to 7th at one point, but then dropped to 9th, and then lost a further 3 or 4 places. I think 4 places to put me 13th on the road. This is Luke in front here, and then Gareth comes through as well. 13th on the road after a penalty. That put me up to 12th at the end of frenetic, tiring but exciting race 1 at Buckmore Park. I can remember after that race 1 just sitting down by the Club 100 truck in the sun at Buckmore and just feeling very tired and overwhelmed, and kind of approaching race 2 of just, I had no plan, I almost went into it like I've got no control over what's going to happen for the next 20 minutes. I will just end up where I end up. And yeah, stuff happened. I can't even remember if I don't have the footage because I didn't put my camera on, or if it didn't save, or if I've lost it somehow. Anyway, piecing it together from my vague, hazy memories and the result sheet, I started 12th on the grid because that race 1 was actually a 12th after penalties, and dropped 6 places to finish 18th. I had a bit more of a shuffling on the first lap. I remember sort of into the second hairpin. I think I was sort of on the half on the grass on the left hand side, and lost 3 places on the first lap, and then kind of lost a further 3 places throughout the rest of the race. Again, like I was mostly happy with how I was doing, but I was sort of tired physically and mentally, and yeah, kind of just what happened. I think the main thing to note about Buckmore is it's the kind of home event for Club 100. So, you know, if you're signing up to do Club 100, there are 3 races there this year in the experience. There are always going to be races at Buckmore, so any experience and learning you can get there is worth it. It's a very difficult track in those karts, in my opinion. I find it difficult because you're pushing really hard. There are corners that are flat out or close to flat out, but you've got to get the lines nailed. There's very little time for rest, and yeah, any experience you can get from it is worth having. I ultimately that day wasn't like the best result ever, but I do just remember being blown away by how much fun it was racing these fantastic go-karts at such a fantastic track. So yeah, good fun. A note on fitness though. After Buckmore, I was getting so battered in the kart that day. I tried to do a little bit of a training regime to get a little bit fitter for karting. I'm not out of shape, but my main sport is cycling, so I have like good lower body strength but nothing upper body. I'm just like a weak nothing up here. So I started to do a little bit of arm weights. Towards the end of the year I was doing more core exercises, but this is something, if you're going into the novice experience, fitness for me was a factor. Like 20 minutes is not too long a race, but you're getting tired by the end of it, especially at a track like Buckmore Park where there is no time to rest. So yeah, it's recommended it's worth doing a few fitness trainings. It's worth getting in shape, maybe some core strength, maybe some upper body strength. I don't actually know like what the best exercises are. I'm sure you can Google like best karting exercises. I'm sure people have got ideas. I did that one. I've seen Lewis Hamilton do that one where he does the weights like that on the big weights machine. So I got my weights and I was doing that. I felt like a big racing driver. Cue training montage. No, let's not do it. No, let's not do a training montage. Yeah, I don't know what the best is, but fitness is a factor, especially if you want to try and get closer down to the weight limit. Get in shape. Okay, round 3, Buckmore Park. Qualified quite well, went down a bit in the races to not have such a brilliant finish. Murray, what's the verdict?
Fantastic development this is. That lunatic, whoever he is changing the complexion of the race.
Whilton Mill, baby, up in Daventry in the Midlands, my neck of the woods. So, like I had said, Whilton Mill is the track that ahead of this year I had been to a couple of times before, and then it was the track that I did my hour-long pre-season test evaluation thing. So it was the one that I maybe felt I had best knowledge of. Here's some footage of qualifying. Oh, turn 1 and 2, so good at Whilton Mill, so much fun. You're just flat out. Hopefully all of the time was I flat there. I'm not sure. You can see the right foot of truth on this onboard camera. So yeah, this is qualifying footage. So felt confident for Whilton, but again, I think it's a track that generally a lot of other people have been to as well, so kind of relative to other people, maybe experience is less valuable. Also going into this round, it was becoming apparent that my race results were not as high as my qualifying results for a few reasons, and I'm a positive guy and my glass is half full, so I'm going to say that is because I've been doing well in qualifying and not necessarily because I've been having bad races. But I went into this trying to focus on, okay, I can do a good lap, but I really need to get better at keeping that pace up through a race and focus on running at something at least close to my qualifying pace in the race. So that was kind of my focus for this. Qualifying felt good. 5th place was cool. Josh absolutely blitzed us in qualifying. He was miles quicker than everyone else. Yeah, so all good. Ready for grid 5th in race 1. Okay, so here we go for the race. Starting 5th place on the left-hand side at Whilton Mill behind Harry. Zach's not having a very good time on the right though. He's getting bumped, isn't he? And that means Harry slots into 2nd ahead of Zach on the left-hand side going up the hill. I thought I could maybe go around the outside there, but Zach, as you'd expect, runs wide. Then I've lost 2 places. Johnny's having a little skid, and then suddenly I've sort of just got shuffled slightly there. It's all good fun. That's Cameron and Rizwan in front, and Rizwan gets ahead of Cameron. We can speed it up now for the rest of this lap. It's all kind of as you'd expect. Close behind Cameron going through the boot section. Big curb on the right hand side, you got to watch out for that. And then into turn 1 for the 2nd time. A little bit quicker than Cameron through there maybe. Gonna try and outbrake him. Oh, that's clumsy. I think what happened there is I tried too hard to outbrake and ended up clattering Rizwan. If I'd just been a bit more patient, I could have taken Cameron. End of that lap, and I'm following Cameron into turn 1, and he just slightly slows, and that is bad. That is bad. Let's have another look. So I think what happens here is I feel like my tyres are warm and I'm going to go through this turn 1 complex flat, and Cameron just backs off slightly, lifts, and I'm not expecting it, and I go into the back of him, and this cost him 10 places. But at this point I was really worried. I was sort of, it's all over so quickly and you can't really see it, but I was turned in my seat looking back, and I can see him. He's gone past the concrete on the left and he's onto the bumpy grass and he's bumping, and I'm really worried that he's going into the barriers and I've killed him. I was ready to stop and get out and help him. It all happened so quickly, but then I could see that he just about rejoined, but it cost him 10 places. He was okay, fortunately, and I spoke to him about it afterwards. And it's good that we can laugh about it now, about how I tried to murder him, but at the time I was really worried. I also avoided getting a penalty for this, which in this race we got told off at the end of it by JV for such mad driving, but I did not get a penalty somehow. So yeah, sorry again, Cameron, that was quite bad, but could have been worse. I'm also going to say it partly comes from Shennington. You know, I was saying how I was backing off too much from people, giving people too much room when I was letting them through, so I was kind of trying to be better at being right on people's bumper for the other races, but obviously too much in that case. Anyway, that meant that I was now chasing down Rizwan and Johnny ahead. They end up squabbling into the hairpin, and I sense an opportunity. Little bump there for Johnny, just sends him offline. Is it unfair to try and take advantage? I don't know. It wasn't me who bumped him. There we go. Through past them. Not much happens for a while apart from monster curb. Oh yes, sorry JV, sorry. Yeah, most people know about that curb, but on the beginner's tip side of things, JV will tell you in the briefing, but it's a huge curb and you really have to avoid it. I got lucky there to get away with a little bump, and I managed to avoid a penalty as well, but yeah, you gotta watch that curb. So at this point I'm running 5th, which is where I started. Up ahead you can see Harry, Josh and Justin really squabbling, and they're quite far ahead of me at this point, but going into the boot they're just going to end up fighting amongst each other and really slowing each other down, and it's Josh who comes off worse, which if I can take turn 1 nicely, keep the speed, just gives me a run up on the inside into 4th place here. And Harry then gets back in front of Justin. I have a little chance of something with the back marker, but it doesn't quite fall into place as we go past the back marker. By this point we're over halfway into the 22 lap race. It holds steady for a good few laps, but then coming here into the back straight, it's Josh, I think, who just gets a run, and that slows me down through the final section, and 2 places are lost, and now back down to 6th. And this is the start of one of the best sort of few laps of racing I had all year. Super fun. It's Josh, Christian and I, a lot of squabbling, and I think it's all fairly clean. Is this hairpin called Ashby? Anyway, I just get a quicker run off it from the both of them and slip inside 2 of them there, but then cutting back on the inside, I think that's Christian maybe coming back at me, has a little look around the outside. This is just, this is good fun, man. This is what it's all about. Coming down the back straight again into the boot section. There's a back marker involved this time. Go around the outside, they just touch slightly. It's getting like, it's all good fun. Is this on the limit? I don't know. The back marker's gonna turn around and see 3 people bearing down on him, then into the first corner. That's tight as well. Am I gonna get a run? up the hill into the hairpin, trying on the brakes, but very nicely around the outside. I'm getting them 2 meters up. Oh, that's a bit close. Moving, sort of under braking. I try the outside here, but it's way too wide, and you hit the AstroTurf. You can't see it, but I sort of almost got thrown out of the kart with that. Then we're onto the final lap. I think, I'm not sure what the positions are at this point. I'm still behind both of them in 6th place. We'll speed it up as we go through the final lap. Still really close, still squabbling. We've sort of, the guys in front have got away at this point. But that is it. The end of race 1 at Whilton Mill, and that was fun. We got told off afterwards, all the novices, for whatever, loads of penalties, sketchy driving. I managed to avoid penalties, and I had a brilliant laugh. Okay, the second race at Whilton Mill, round 4, and I'm starting from 6th place here, where I finished in race 1 on the right hand side through turn 1. And bear in mind here, we'd just been told off for excess aggression and madness in race 1. Lost a bit of ground going up the hill. I think I'm still 6th at this point, and then look at this. Well, everyone's just off. Madness. I don't know what's happening. It looks here like I've got a sniff for 3rd place, but then going into the hairpin just get squeezed, and then I've lost ground on the exit, and I'm dropping down a bit there after looking like I had a sniff of a good position. Coming onto the back straight, and Harry's run wide there, so just get in front. And it's been a mad fun first lap. Keep it going through the boot and avoid the big curb on the inside, and the end result of that is that after a lap of craziness, I'm back where I started, and I'm in 6th place. A few laps later now, I've held position. There are 3 in front battling onto the back straight. The guy just in front, Tom Edwards, was started 14th and made it up to 5th in the first lap and ended up finishing 3rd. That's a fantastic effort. But they all 3 fighting, and I close behind now, and I end up behind Bart in front here. And this was me from about lap 3 until lap 10. I was basically behind Bart. Christian gets past me there, and then on his charge through the field also gets past Bart in front. Maybe a chance for me to force it there, but not worth it. And so then I'm behind Bart, and after a few laps, to me it kind of becomes clear that I've maybe got the pace to be quicker than him, and what I should be doing is just making one quick clean overtaking maneuver to get past him, and then we can both get on with our races. But I don't do that, and what ends up happening is a load of these kind of half moves, nibbly little moves, and it's bad racecraft from me really, because the guys in front are getting away. I'm costing both of us time by this, and I know that the people behind are going to be on my tails trying to get past. Eventually it's a messy move into the hairpin, and I don't know what happened behind. It was a bit of a messy move, and I should have got it done more cleanly earlier in the race, but there we go. That was me then back up into 6th place, and for the rest of the race held that position. Kind of had the second half of the race with a reasonably big gap in front, and then a reasonably big gap behind. Tried to do what I had said I needed to work on and set some quick-ish lap times, which in the end I had a lap time kind of up there, like not far off the quick guys, which was all right. And yeah, held position through 6th to the end, and just enjoyed driving around Whilton Mill. It's so different from Buckmore. Buckmore is just hilly and twisty and turny the whole way, but Whilton Mill's got some awesome corners, and in these karts it's so fun. I felt like I was getting better on the brakes up the hill, maybe being a bit more aggressive. And yeah, that was race 2 at Whilton Mill for 6th place, although with a penalty in front of me that became 5th at the end, so a 6th and a 5th put me 4th overall on the day, which was cool. Good result, great fun. Round 4, Whilton Mill, the only track before this year that I'd had experience of. It was a good fun race, lots of things happened. What is the Murray Walker rating?
Certainly the most eventful, exciting, momentous I have ever seen.
Lydd was the weekend. It wasn't the hottest day of the year. There was like that Monday and Tuesday where all the temperature records in the UK got broken. This was the Sunday, the day before, so the temperature was starting to creep up into the 40 degrees C. It was boiling hot. Just looking at that photo now of the race, I kind of want to warm my hands. It just looks so lovely and warm compared to what we have now in December. But yeah, on days like this, you've got to remember when you're at these races to keep drinking loads of water, keep hydrated, because you're sweating and you're losing water all the time. So yeah, keep hydrated, everyone. Wow, thanks John. We've got to the point where the beginner tips are drink water when it's hot. I mean, genius, just genius. How will the beginners survive without advice like this? Anyway, here is the race 1 of round 5 at Lydd. This is where I started putting a little bit of graphics on the videos, and we can see that I qualified 6th. I'd actually managed to have a little bit of cheeky practice at Lydd as well. I went to a Club 73 karting event at Lydd, which is like a rental karting championship using the circuit's own arrive and drive karts. So I had a bit of experience of the track. I maybe dared to hope for qualifying even higher than 6th, although as I kind of realised throughout the day, I wasn't attacking the first chicane as well as possible. So here we go, on the outside, heading into the first chicane on race 1. Just on the way out of that first chicane there, and you see Christian's got the better line into the second chicane, slow down over the curbs, and that's that. That was kind of it for the first lap. Ended up 6th, same as where I started again, and not a whole lot happened then for a good few laps. So now we're shuffling ahead to lap 14, still in touch with the people in front just, but then here comes Luke of the Kart Bros with a nice move. I was not getting that corner right in the first race, but he was on a charge in that race, so nicely done. And then trying to lap someone on lap 17 and just get held up, and that allows Manuel in the blue to go through. What you sort of don't notice is that Rizwan also gets through with a real ninja move. Like, you can't see it, but he's there, he gets past. So that's 2 places down for me, and I'm down to 9th. Get around the back marker around the outside though, that's cool. And that's it up for the rest of this race 1. A really great scrap with Manuel in front there in the blue. This was maybe my favourite sort of one-on-one race I had all year. This was just the 2 of us, we were kind of on our own. I felt like maybe I could go slightly faster, but each of us were faster in different parts of the circuit. There were still bits that I weren't getting right. I think into this corner he just loses ground coming out of that chicane, and that lets me go through on the inside on the end of the circuit. A word for Lydd. Lydd is a sneakily good circuit, man. Like, in their own rental karts, it didn't seem that impressive. I think because the corners, none of the corners are that sharp, so you can basically take them flat out in the sort of lower powered karts, and you can't ride the curbs. But in the Club 100 karts, with the curbs, so many of the corners are just near flat but not quite flat. This long left-hander is almost flat, and then down this back straight you feel like you're going about 1,000,000 miles an hour heading into the last corner. It's a really cool track in these karts. Really enjoyed it. Then I got sort of stuck there, lost a bit of time behind the back marker, and Manuel gets the better line, gets back in front over the start and finish line. On the final lap there's another back marker, Manuel gets through, I don't, and that is race 1. Finished I think 9th on the road, but as it says there, 7th after penalties. Little fist bump with Manuel after a good scrap. Is there a better feeling in the world than giving someone a fist bump after a mutually good little fight on a kart race? I don't think there's a better feeling than that. That's a great feeling. 7th race 1, down 1 position, good fun. So I went into race 2, again, similar to Buckmore, feeling like it was so hot that day. I felt kind of dehydrated. I mean, not dehydrated. I'd been drinking water. I just felt hot, kind of tired. I thought there was a reasonable chance it would go the same way as race 2 at Buckmore, where I kind of ended up just not really having control over my own actions and slipping down a bit. Starting 7th, it actually turned out to be quite a good race, and I think my favourite race of the whole year that I did. When I got out of the kart, I thought I had a rocket. I thought I had an amazingly quick kart. I think what actually happened is I ended up at one point, you'll see, behind Cameron, and I think he had a very slow kart. And I think I had a slightly quicker than average kart, but maybe the difference to Cameron made me think like, oh, this kart is amazing. And maybe that kind of propelled me to be like, I've got an amazing kart, I'm going to win. But maybe it was more me than the kart, and, you know, just believe in yourself and you can do great things. But anyway, here we go, starting from the right and 7th place into the first chicane, all close on either side. This is just tight here now into the second chicane. On the inside you can run the curb, just bumping Johnny a bit in front there, and I give him a little tap here, just sending him forward. The back corner on the inside, and in a display of aggression worthy of a far better karter than me, I just send it up the inside of Johnny there, which I was pretty proud of, I guess. Like, that's normally I'd have hung back and be like, oh no, you first, sorry. But yep, up there, and that means that the first lap ended, and another rare occurrence, I actually made up places, went from 7th to 5th on the first lap. Hooray! Now behind Christian here on the second lap, again through the chicanes, and here I'm thinking to myself, well, it worked last lap. You can get past people if you actually try and overtake. So, you know, got a bit of a run out of the hairpin at the bottom, and there we go, through again into the right, left, right, and it's all going quite well up into 4th. Maybe this won't be such a terrible race after all. Maybe getting a little bit of a run on Rizwan there, but no, not gonna happen. Then on to lap 5, and I think there's a yellow flag here which slowed camera down, and Rizwan takes advantage, goes down the inside into the final corner, and this puts me behind Cameron, who, like I said earlier, I think had a pretty slow kart in this race, to be fair to him. But again, this was another one of sort of the fantastic one-on-one scraps I had all year with Cameron. Really great, clean racing. I get a better run out of the final corner there after he takes the tight line and get in front, but he's on the inside through the left of that chicane and gets back in front, really hanging it out. Again, this is where you can just see, I think I've got much better straight line speed coming down that back straight towards the sea you're going towards there, the Kent coastline. Cameron gets ahead of Luke here, who maybe also had a bit of a bad cut in this race because he was dropping down. And again, I show some aggression and I just don't hesitate, straight past, don't want to waste any time. We're on lap 10 by this point, and I'm in 4th place now here, Cameron in front in 3rd. so can resume the battle with him. Look at this speed I've got. I think I've got quite a good run out of the corner, but I'm just really homing into him down that back straight. My kart was quite fast, but I think Cameron's was poor. And then again, I just thought I've got to get past, and that was from quite a long way back, but I thought I've just got to do it. I felt like I had some pace there, and I just wanted to kind of get on with things. So nice overtake. Up into third now when we're on lap 17. Rizwan is trying to lap someone in front here, and I have a little bit of a nibble, which is a bit of a silly move. It costs me momentum, and then coming up, taking advantage on the inside there is Justin. He goes through, and then it's a while behind him. Basically, I kind of, stuck behind him. I think maybe I could have done more earlier if I'd tried. There's another back marker in front now, and at this point Justin goes left, I swing right, and I'm thinking in my head, before it's even happened, I'm thinking Mika Hakkinen on Schumacher, Spa 2001. This is it. I'd even sort of, in this split second, it's amazing what your brain can do. I'd kind of planned out, I was like, okay, I've got the GoPro footage, I'm going to put it next to the clip of Spa 2001. I'll show it on YouTube, it'll be amazing, best overtake ever, here we go. But then it just didn't happen. I got past Zonta, but I didn't get past Schumacher. I've shown the clip anyway. But yeah, so I was still behind Justin at this point, lap 22, not long left. But at this point, I thought I had the speed. I thought this kart had an engine as powerful as Hakkinen's McLaren. I thought I could do great things, but then by lap 24, I've just dropped away. I had a few scruffy laps, and I just didn't have it. And at this point, I kind of remember saying to myself in the kart, right, come on, you've got the kart, let's just do this, let's nail this lap. And this lap 25 here was the fastest lap of the race, 44.7, yeah, fastest that anyone set. Really attacking these chicanes now. That curb on the left, you don't want to hit too hard. I felt like I'd hooked up this hairpin all day pretty well, just taking a little bit of curb, carrying the speed. Then you go over the crest, and I'm braking there. You shouldn't be braking, but I was clipping that apex on the way in nicely. You've just got to balance the throttle and lean to the right of the kart through that left-hander, because it's just barely full throttle. Then flat out down the back straight and nail it into the final corner, try not to brake. And that was the fastest lap, and I'd sort of got myself within touching distance of the three in front.
It's the perfect lap.
That three is the lead. That's Harry from Rizwan, from Justin there. So the lead is there, lap 26 now, and I'm catching up with them. It's all tight, it's really close. Again, through this amazing corner, I've got good speed there. You're balancing it. Justin's kind of run a bit wide there, so I've got a bit of a run down to the final corner, but back out of it. That's a tough place to overtake in these karts, it's so quick. So one more lap to go, running in fourth. I'm attacking that first chicane much better than I was earlier in the day. Again, maybe an opportunity, but not got enough of a difference. Into the hairpin at the bottom end of the track now, and get a run out. So it's going to be the same move, into the right, left, right, get alongside before this time. And I know I can kind of rely on this kart to carry me through that corner, and with enough speed down the back straight. Turns out that pass wouldn't have actually mattered because there was a penalty anyway, but on the last lap, get into third, and I was chuffed with that. That was a good race. I really enjoyed it. I was really happy with what I managed to do, sort of really focusing and concentrating and getting a good result. Round 5 at Lydd. It was a fantastic weekend. It was hot. I really enjoyed myself. We made a weekend of it. We went down to Camber Sands, to the beach. We stayed in a hotel. The day before we went to Rye in East Sussex, which is just like a beautiful, amazing town. Good food, great fun. That's my tip. Another tip, if you want to make a weekend of one, Lydd was an awesome holiday weekend. But what was the rating? I think it was one of my strongest results. Murray, be nice.
Fantastic! Absolutely incredible!
Thank you.
Off!
I will have my revenge.
Look, he knows it. He is absolutely beside himself with joy.